This episode is all about getting unstuck and relaxing into the creative flow of life and writing. Find out all about refueling your creative energy with artist dates and the 1-minute vacation. And go on an ocean adventure in a buoyant and rejuvenating imagination activating guided practice. I'm Suzanne Alyssa Andrew, and this is Stardust and Courage, the podcast where we use writing, curiosity, and imagination to see beyond challenges and make life more meaningful. It's mindful writing to go deeper, grow, and imagine. And I'm so happy and excited that you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is an exciting episode because we have our first listener question to answer. What I love about podcasting is the opportunity for us all to connect. And I'm loving your glowing feedback on the show. So it's my pleasure to answer your questions about mindful writing. This question is from Chrissy in Seattle. She writes, Dear Suzanne, I loved reading so much as a kid and always wanted to write books. In my 40s now, I'm finally carving out some time in my jam-packed schedule to write. But when I sit down to write, the magic is not happening. And one Saturday afternoon, I even fell asleep at my desk. It's so frustrating and disappointing. How do I get back into creative flow when I haven't been writing and feel so stuck? It's stressing me out. Well, thank you, Chrissy, for your courageous and totally relatable question. When we've been dreaming about something for a long time, the reality of it can actually be a little bit of a letdown. But I want to reassure you that magic is possible and magic is here. I totally understand the feeling of being creatively tapped out or stuck. And when that's happened to me in the past, I've had a definite need to do what the writer Julia Cameron calls refilling the well. In her book, The Artist's Way, she talks about refilling the well as a way of just rejuvenating your creative energy. And one of my favorite ways to do that is through the artist dates she recommends. An artist date is a solo play date for your inner artist. We need to wake up that inner artist with things that are inspiring and fun. So what I do for artist dates is I check the local arts listings, and I recommend picking something other than writing. So maybe you're going on an architecture walk, or you're going to see some art. You can check and see what's on at your local art galleries. Maybe you can see a play, or you can see some dance or another type of performance. I love going to concerts. Maybe it's a walk in nature that you need. Whatever helps you feel inspired and alive. And it might surprise you how much is going on in your community that you never thought about participating in. The one important thing about artist dates is that Julia Cameron stresses that you have to go solo. And I kind of balked at that at first. I wasn't sure why. But it's really because I know for me, when I'm with my friends, going to an art gallery is a fun thing to do, but we just end up talking through the whole time. So you don't get the same level of inspiration and noticing that you do on your own. Sometimes really magical things can happen when you're on your own, and you can notice things that you wouldn't have otherwise. On a recent artist date, I checked the local listings and found out that there was an interesting ceramics exhibition on. And I went, and it was amazing. It was all ceramic figures of women, and they had the most interesting, curious expressions. Each one of them had a very delicate face. And looking at these ceramic women figures was really inspiring for me, for characters, and imagine what their stories were. So it was really a good day, and I was in such a good mood and had tons of inspiration to write that week. It really helps us feel inspired and alive. So I recommend an artist date. Try and do that this week on your weekend or maybe in an evening. Or maybe if you have an afternoon off sometime, see what there is to do around your community. And you might be surprised just how interesting it can be and magical. When I teach writing courses, I talk a lot about the need to prepare our mindset to create and write. I think a lot of us are used to being stuck in hustle culture and productivity loops where we think we need to just sit down and produce. But the artist's brain doesn't work that way. Creative inspiration doesn't work that way. It does when you're in flow. If you're not in flow and you sit down and try and push it, that's when you get frustrated. So what I suggest is that we need to start valuing thinking time and observation. We need to have time to look out the window and let our minds wander. Let yourself daydream. There's true value in the art and inspiration of daydreaming. And you might be surprised where your mind goes when you let yourself. But once you get into a habit of daydreaming every once in a while, or just looking around and noticing details more, be open to ideas as they arrive and start collecting them. And that way, the writer's mind is always writing. You just need to notice things and start collecting them and writing them down. Treat yourself to a notebook that you really like, a really pretty or elegant or bold one, and a good pen. And write notes in your notebook through the week. Or if you like sticky notes work too. I'm a huge fan of index cards. I just love my index cards. So collect your notes through the week. And if you're weekend writing, like we talked about in episode 2, it'll be amazing to start your weekend writing session with your stack of notes. Then you have a place to begin. So you're not just looking at a blank page or trying to start from nothing. You're collecting inspiration. And then when you sit down to write, you have a beautiful starting point for it. And you feel far less frustrated and discouraged. And you have somewhere to go with these ideas. Something else that I recommend is to start each writing session with a 1-minute vacation. So what this is a clearing breath sequence. It's like a mini meditation. It really clears out all the negativity and stress that's accumulated in your brain and frees up your inner playful artist to be open to your creative energy. So let's try that now. Take a deep breath in and imagine creative energy filling up your belly like a balloon. And when you breathe out, imagine all the negative energy and old thoughts and patterns you no longer need, and let them all go. Breathe in deeply all the creative energy and fill up your belly like a balloon. And let everything else go when you breathe out. Let's try it one more time. Take a deep breath and fill up your belly like a balloon with creative energy. And when you breathe out, let everything else go. I recommend starting every writing session with that and see if that helps. It really is like a 1-minute vacation for your brain, and it really can give you an energy boost. One more thing I recommend is trying Elizabeth Gilbert's method of writing from love, or decide to write from curiosity or power, or whatever part of you wants to speak. This way, you're not trying to write from your ego, which will always try to shut you down to keep you small and safe, especially when you're working out of your comfort zone and doing something new, or if you haven't been writing for a long time. Your ego is definitely going to want to stop you. So instead of writing from your ego and worrying about what people will think about what you write, and what the outcome of what you write is going to be, decide to write from another part of yourself. This can be extremely effective. It's really interesting to see what arises when you do this. And finally, If you're falling asleep at your desk, sometimes resting is what you actually need, and that's totally valid. In my course, The Sparkle Technique, we rest into creativity with a series of guided meditations. You can trial lessons from the Sparkle Technique in episode 3 of this podcast, and I totally recommend you take the course. Details are available on my website. Now, to help you better appreciate the value of inspired daydreaming and writing, we're going to do an ocean-themed imagination activation. Let's begin by becoming present in our bodies in this moment. You can put your worries on an imaginary barge and let a brave little tugboat tow it all out to sea for now. They don't need to distract you for the next few minutes. This is your time. Look around you and notice 3 colors. I see a red notebook, a gold star, and a leafy green monstera plant. Release the tension in your shoulders, neck, and arms. And if it feels right and you're not driving, give yourself a hug. Now you can soften or close your eyes. Slow your breathing gently in and out. In your mind's eye, imagine a wild and windswept rocky beach where Chrissy, our letter writer, lives, and I live too, a little farther north. This is not a tropical oasis beach, but it's rugged and very beautiful, and its rugged, rocky wildness feels like a story you want to know. Imagine yourself or your main character emerging from a cool forest of tall cedar trees to look at the water. You stand on a piece of fallen driftwood and feel the breeze on your face. You can smell cedar and salt and dried seaweed. You can even taste salt on your tongue. You hear a seagull cry a warning, and you look up to see a majestic eagle soaring high in the sky. The ocean waves are a steady, powerful roar. The tide is coming in, advancing up the rocky beach, and the sun sparkles on the wavy surface of the water like shimmering glitter. In the distance, you see a harbor seal pop out of the water, then somersault back in. You're wearing a wetsuit and scuba gear and climb over the rocks to get to the water's edge. The rocks and pebbles make sounds as they shift under your feet. You have a friend to visit underwater, so you set up your mask and oxygen and walk into the ocean. At first, the water is intensely cold, even in a wetsuit in summer, but it compels you to keep swimming. You're heading to the bottom of the bay. Underwater, it's intensely quiet and calm. You can't hear the waves above at all. Take a moment to appreciate the stillness and imagine what you see. Now, slowly make your way to an underwater rock you recognize, and your little friend, the gentle octopus, appears. It touches your arm with its tentacle, then scoots back and forth playing with you. You're so happy to see your underwater friend. You play for a while, then you have to keep swimming on. What else do you see and feel in the stillness underwater? What's the best part about this stillness? Without trying or pushing, Gently see if the stillness of the water helps you feel more connected to what is and what's possible. When you're ready, resurface and swim back to shore. I hope you emerge back into the room feeling a little more connected to your creative spirit. Whenever you need more creative energy and ideas, listen to this podcast. You can also go on an artist date, take time to daydream, go on a 1-minute vacation with your breath, or try writing from a part of you that's not your ego, like love or curiosity. You can always find your way back to creative flow when you go gentle and slow. It's always here for you. Thanks to Chrissy for the wonderful question, and thanks to you for listening. If you like this podcast, it really helps me when you give it a 5-star rating and share it with a friend. If you want to ask a question, I want to hear from you. Hop on over to my website and fill out the Dear Suzanne form on the podcast page. The link is in the show notes. I believe in your writing. I believe in your creativity. I believe that creative energy is available to us all if we're open to it and relax to receive it. Sending you stardust and courage until next time.